Now, we've spent on the last training time actually getting your contacts in, uploading them, and starting to identify if they should be in your pipeline or not. And that's really what the sales flow is. Think of the sales flow like a river. You're going to start at the top here, and you're just going to kind of go with the flow, if you want to say, until you get to the end of the river, basically wherever that might stop. So think of the sales flow as something similar to that. A seller and buyer's life cycle can be very long. We know that some buyers, it could take 18 months for them to finally get through a transaction and actually close. And what the sales flow does is it allows you to identify who those people are, who you should be spending time with, when you should be following up, and even giving you specific tasks on how to follow up with them. In the last video, we talked about how you should be using the dashboard every single day. And we kind of skipped through the sales flow. So that's what this training is kind of all about. It's all about the sales flow. So the sales flow, again, we know that it's broken into about 4 different pieces. We have marketing, prospects, actives, and pending. So that's kind of where your clients fall into play. In the last one, we decided, should these people be a client, or they should be someone who's a non-client collaborator? And you have to make that decision. Is it someone that you want to market to and someone that you want to make sure that you're following up? Because that's how the system truly works. When you put somebody through the sales flow, it's going to give you tasks that will allow you to follow up at certain times. And honestly, if you're using the dashboard daily, you click on this, you go to your transaction task, you're going to be able to see who you need to follow up with today. So you can move along with your day. You know exactly who you need to follow with them, and then boom. And that's one of the benefits of using the sales flow. Is going to tell you who and when and how to follow up. Now, one of the cool things with the sales flow, and specifically the tasks for each one of the categories in the sales flow, is you have the capability of making it as custom as possible. And what I mean is, right now it's going to be set up as a default for what Moxi has for you. You can go in and change the time frames. You can change exactly what you're doing. You can take things out that you don't like and make it truly for you. So, one of the things I talked about in the last video was taking time to clean up your database. The next step will probably be updating the task list to work for you. So as you go through and we finish going through the sales flow, learn how to work it, will give you a better understanding and actually do business the way that you want to, which is fantastic. So let's talk about what each one of these are before I show you how to get into your tasks and what tasks you need to do for each one. Let's talk about marketing. So marketing is something that, the way I look at it, is probably 9 months, 12 months, maybe over a year. So think of, somebody who may want to do some business, may want to sell their home, may want to buy a home. Maybe it's a past buyer, past seller, someone you met at a grocery store. So someone who has not decided to do business with you yet. That's everybody that should be in marketing. And again, marketing, you're going to have specific tasks to still follow up with them. But if someone who's not looking at doing anything anytime soon, you're probably not going to follow up with them every single day, but you want to be reminded to follow up with them so you can stay top of mind. And that's one of the fantastic things that Moxi Engage has, is to keep you top of mind, either through tasks or through campaigns, e-blasts, searches, and neighborhood news. So as they start out in the marketing phase, next we would move them to a prospect. So somebody who is possibly a past buyer, now is interested in possibly selling, we would move them to a prospect. So someone who's decided, hey, I want to sell, I want to buy, but I'm not quite ready yet. And when I look at that, I probably look at 6 to 9 months, 5 to 8 months, something like that would be a prospect to me. So I know in 5 to 6 months, they're probably going to do some type of transaction. So the follow-up is going to be different for a prospect than it would be for, let's say, somebody that's in the marketing phase. When someone finally decides, yes, I want to list my house, yes, let's go start looking at properties as a buyer, then I move them to active. Now, active to me is probably 3 to 6 months. Probably, give or take. It could be 3 to 6, could be 0 to 3, depending on how motivated they actually are, but they're actively looking at properties, their house is on the market. So I would probably say a good 0 to 3 months, at least on the active standpoint, maybe a little bit longer. It just depends on what's happening in the market and what's going on with the people that are in your database. After we go active and we do those specific tasks that are tied into that and we go under contract, then we move them to pending. And then the tasks that you would have under pending would be obviously something that is going to be closing within 0 to 45 days, right? So if someone is pending, you're closing that transaction in about 45 days. And then there's going to be specific tasks that you need to do with those people that are under contract, like escrow, inspections, utilities, all the conditions of the loan, all those little things to walk through to make sure that you, again, are following up with the people that are in your database to move them all the way through to basically a closed transaction. So the idea is that you may get a new lead and they're going right to active. I mean, you can move them between these. You can jump from prospect to pending. Like, you can move them however you want, but it is your responsibility to move them through as you're working your database and pushing them through that. Now, one of the things I like to do is looking at this dashboard every single day. I know that on my pending standpoint, I need to spend time with them probably today. There's something that probably needs to happen today. This is something that's closing within 0 to 45 days. I'm going to do a lot more follow-up with that. Active is probably someone I'm following up with at least every week, just to kind of see how we're doing, setting up showings, responding to showings that are happening with a listing, things like that. Prospects are someone who, again, they want to do business with you, but they're not quite ready. This is probably someone every other week to every month. I'm definitely going to be following up with them. And then finally, marketing. I want to stay top of mind with them. But it's not someone I'll be actively calling every single day to see, are we looking at properties? Here's what's happening with your listing. Oh, we're closing in 22 days. Where's this? Where's that? So, and then tying that into your tasks, these are those tasks. So if I look at today and I see that I have a lot of overdue stuff because I have not been using this the way that I should be. And this will tell me every day what I need to do. So if I only have to follow up with 3 people today, it will be on my task list. I can get it done, and then I can move on to what I want to move on to whatever else I need to do that day. So that's why it's important. Again, if we're using this every single day, looking at your sales flow, who you should be spending time with, what exactly you need to get done today, and it's going to tell you what you need to do, then you can just move on and do what you do best, which is talking to new people and trying to get them to possibly transact with you. So let's talk about the tasks a little bit more. So before I walk you through moving someone through the sales flow, what I want you to do is, if you click on the little settings icon up here, and then you click engage settings, there's a couple things that I would love for you to make sure are turned on, because I think it's important. And number one, I want you to go to special dates. Special dates are turned on for me, but what this will is, if you automatically turn this on to add to your calendar and remind you, it is going to go to my Google Calendar and say, this is their birthday tomorrow, it's their anniversary today, it's a house anniversary. If I go through the entire transaction with someone, from marketing to pet prospect to active to pending, and then when I finally close it out, it will tie that transaction to the person that's in engage, and will put their closing date in there. And then it's going to remind me a year from now on my regular calendar that it's their anniversary or their house anniversary, and I need to be reaching out to them. So the first thing is, go in here, turn on all the special dates. So turn on these and have them auto added to your calendar. I highly recommend that. Now what we're going to do is, we're going to take time and we're going to discuss the tasks. So remember, we have marketing, prospect, active, and pending. So you can see here we have marketing, and then the sales plans are when you decide if they're a buyer or seller. That's when you get a prospect, active, and then pending. So I'm going to start with marketing real quick. And it's going to be similar for every part of the sales flow when it comes down to customizing these plans to your liking. So I'm going to start with a marketing plan here that's custom, that I've already made. So you're going to click this and hit custom. And this is kind of how you need to view this. When you put somebody into that specific piece of the sales flow, so in this case, marketing. So when I put them in marketing, this is going to say on day 1, which is going to be the next day, to make a follow-up call with them. Okay. Then 15 days from start date is this, 25 days is this, 30, 50. I have my plan set all the way out to 150 days to make sure that I'm following up with the people that are in my marketing part of the sales flow. Now, one thing you will notice is when I hover over this, you can see where it says change day. So if I don't want to do this on day 1 and I'd like to do this on day 15 or day 0 or day 250, I can click on it, change day, and I can maneuver when I want this to start, because this is done in increments. It's not done on a specific date. It all depends on when you put them in to the sales flow and that piece of the sales flow. So that's one thing you can do, is you can change kind of the date. So how do you do business? How do you want to handle and be reminded to follow up with the people that are in your marketing part of the sales flow? On the right-hand side, you're going to notice that there's some red X's. So anything with a red X means I can take them out. I can take this out. So if I do not want to make a follow-up, a personal phone call, I don't want this in my follow-up, my tasks for the marketing side, I can hit this X and it will remove it from the plan. If it's grayed out, you cannot remove that from it. This is going to be setting up neighborhood news and a monthly newsletter. So these are two things you should definitely be doing for everybody. But if there's something that I don't want in any of my tasks, any of the sales flow, any one of those tasks, I can easily just exit out of it and get rid of it. Now, the other thing I have the ability of doing though too is I can come up here and I can add a task. So what will happen when I click add a task is it will show me every task that's in marketing, prospecting, or prospect, active, and pending. Every single task, which is cool. So you may find something in here that you want to add to your marketing plan to remind you to be able to do. Now, obviously, I'm not going to conduct a walkthrough for a marketing plan, but go through and see what you like. And if there's something you want, you go ahead and hit the plus sign and it will be added to the sales flow. I just did it there just to show you what it would look like. Where are we at? All right, sorry, I missed that. I need to add. There we go. I didn't have it set up. So you can see here that I add to a buyer campaign. Now I don't want this here, so this is how I'm going to show you how to remove them from the plan. Boom, that is completely gone. The other thing you can do is maybe you don't like any of the tasks that are in there, and that's fine because you have the capability of clicking new and creating whatever you want. I'm gonna put this on day one. All right, so you can see here that I just added a new task right here on day one. So when I put somebody in the marketing plan, once I have saved this, day one is going to tell me to follow up and then obviously this here. But I'm going to go ahead and take this out again because we don't really need that. But that is how you add tasks, change tasks, delete tasks, and change the dates of when these tasks are going to be. And again, the tasks are all about your follow-up. It's going to remind you. So if I put somebody on marketing today, tomorrow it's going to remind me if I go into my dashboard and I go to my tasks, it's going to say, make a follow-up call to Jimmy. I can make the call, check it off saying that it's done, and then I can move on from my day. So if I am putting everybody on these plans, there's going to be, you might have one person to follow up with today. You might have 10. You might not have anything for a few days, and then all of a sudden there's stuff to do. But that's why you want to log in every day, just kind of see what's going on with your tasks and who you need to follow up with. Next, I'm going to show you quickly. We're going to go into, let's say, the buyer plan real quick, just again to give you a little different aspect of it. So now that we are in a buyer plan, they're a prospect that wants to basically do business with you. These are the specific tasks that I have set up, but go take a look at this and possibly make some adjustments. And I have mine for a prospect going for 180 days to make sure that I'm following up with this person, which is pretty cool. So again, you can do the same thing, change the dates. You can take stuff out. You can add tasks, do all that kind of stuff. But then what you're going to want to do is if you want to change what's under prospect. So prospect is I'm trying to get them to go active. So it's a buyer. So I'm trying to get them ready to go so we can go purchase a home. Next up would be active. So once we go active, I mean, we need to be doing showings. We need to probably be getting feedback. Probably, you're setting them up on searches. You're scheduling home tours. You're doing all that kind of stuff and working towards getting them under contract. Once you get them under contract, you go to pending. And this is where you talk about critical date timelines. This is going to remind you that you need to do, schedule the inspections, get the escrow taken care of, get insurance, meet any conditions on a loan, whatever that might look like. You can go through here and adjust this based on how you do business with your buyers. I mean, it's that simple. But you do have to take a little time to identify what you want those tasks to kind of look like. Now, let's go ahead back to the people, my people view, and let's take a look at somebody and see what it looks like if we were to move them through the sales flow. So again, what I'm going to have to do real quick. Now, this is kind of cool. This is going to be a way that I can show you how to delete somebody if they are in a transaction. And then let's say, for instance, this thing falls through. You want to move them back to a prospect or back into marketing, and we're going to kind of start everything all over again. So this one, this client of mine does have a pending contract right now as a buyer. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this arrow. I'm going to click delete or deactivate transaction. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to deactivate this transaction. Okay. So I put them through a transaction because we turned into a buyer. We went under contract and we went pending. This is showing you that details of that one. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and delete that for now. And you're going to see when I finally go back with this client that they are in a marketing they are in marketing right now. So they're back in marketing. The contract fell through, but they truly are active. So I can easily either move them as a prospect, slide them right in. I get to choose if they're a buyer or seller. I can put how much money, where their target price that they're looking at. It's kind of cool. I can also start a loop with .loop if I wanted to. This only works if you're using .loop and you have that turned on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so now this person is actually in the prospect zone. So now I have a prospect. They're ready to start looking again. I click this and I move them back to active. It says, are you sure you want to do that? I say yes. And as you can see here, these are all those tasks that I just showed you how you can actually change. So you can go in here and make them how you want. And this is what you're going to see every time I put them into it. Finally, we're going to go into pending. Now, the cool thing when you do pending is I'm going to pick the close date. This will ask for information around the transaction if I want to. So this give me the ability of putting in an MLS number, tying all that stuff together for you. And then finally you go to close. Now the important thing about when you do go and close, when you finish this section right here, a little window will pop up. And if I have anybody signed up for just listed or just sold, they'll actually get an email from me saying, without just filling out this information. This also ties it into my goals. So if I do have a closing and I close it out through Moxi Engage, it's very, very comparable to what you're going to see on 21 Online with those goals. This actually might even be up to date sooner. You can add transactions that are not into MLS, but you can do MLS or vice versa, which is pretty cool. So that's basically how you move someone through the sales flow. And again, to use Moxi Engage to its full extent, you want to make sure that you're identifying who these clients are. I talked before about going through your category wizard and identifying who should be a client and who should not, because your clients go into the sales flow because that's your pipeline, and then working them through and following up from the tasks that either you made yourself or you're the default ones that you're going to use from Moxi to ensure that you're following up with them to move them through the transaction all the way to a closing. And this is one of the main pieces of Moxi I feel a lot of people miss that will truly help you be more efficient if you're logging in daily, looking at your dashboard and those tasks that are going to be assigned to make sure you're following up with them and doing what is needed so you can move on to the other things that you need to for the rest of your day. So that is the sales flow in a nutshell.